I am such an awesome guy. I make so many videos.
Hello there. Price of Reason here with a special report. Those of you that have been watching my Ahsoka reviews know that I haven't been too keen on this Disney Star Wars series since its premiere, and that's putting it mildly. Still, I try to give every episode I watch of it a fair chance, and since this episode saw the return of Hayden Christensen as Anakin Skywalker, at least it had something going for it. In this video, I will discuss what I didn't like about the episode, what I did like about the episode, followed by my official score. The episode starts off by showing us an empty planet Cetos with the same stupid set that we've been seeing for 5 episodes now. We then see the broken MacGuffin ball map that Sith Guy destroyed last episode. Hera finally arrives with her crew, a day late and $1 short because she foolishly waited a full 24 hours to help her friends just so that the plot could happen. Hera then notifies Rebel Miyagi that everybody is gone. Jason, her son, is surveilling the planet with her. Now, it makes no sense that she would even bring her son on this dangerous mission, let alone take him to explore this planet with her, but I guess the writers have decided to bypass any kind of logic. Hera and company meet Huyang, who seems sad because he told Sabine and Ahsoka to stay together, but they didn't. Ahsoka is in the world between worlds. Anakin is there and tells her that she looks old, that she lost her battle with Baylan Skoll, but she still has a chance to live. He then tells her that he's there to help finish her training and that she's never too old to learn. Apparently, today's lesson is that Ahsoka has to decide if she wants to live or die, implying that she has to fight him. Ahsoka then tells Anakin that she won't fight him, and he said that somebody else once told him that. Now, I can only assume that he's referring to Luke Skywalker as some sort of memberberry. Remember Luke Skywalker? Anyhow, Huyang and Hera are wondering where Ahsoka and Sabine are, but since the map is destroyed, they have no clue. Huyang believes that they could be on Boss Lady Morgan's ship, though. Rebel Miyagi then shows up and says that they need to go back to their headquarters because Senator Organa can only give them cover for so long. I can only assume that they're referring to Princess Leia here. Remember Princess Leia? Rebel Miyagi tells Hera that they have to leave, otherwise people are going to ask some questions. This is the part that keeps baffling me. If Hera is indeed a general, I don't believe she's expected to call the Senate every 5 minutes to tell them where she's taking a dump. Why even install a general anywhere if they micromanage them this way? And why does Rebel Miyagi keep questioning every single thing Hera does? She completely outranks him, but you wouldn't know it from watching this show. Anyhow, after Rebel Miyagi explains the trouble they could get into for going on an unauthorized mission, Hera tells him not to worry because what's the point of having a high rank if you can't even use it? This once again confirms that the writers of this show simply don't understand how any type of military structure works, let alone any type of basic chain of command. But we'll get to that later. Jason, Hera's son, whose father was an off-the-books type of Jedi in Rebels, tells Hera that he hears lightsabers. Apparently, he can connect with Ahsoka's vision as she fights Anakin. Hera believes him and decides that they need to fly low over the water to find Ahsoka. Rebel Miyagi is confused about this, and I don't completely blame him, but Huyang the robot explains that Jason is Force-sensitive because of his father, Kanan Jarrus from Rebels, so he must know what he's talking about. Now we're back in Ahsoka's vision. She seems to be holding her own against Anakin, but then he breaks the floor and she falls. At this point, Ahsoka lands in the Clone Wars. In what appears to be the second battle of Geonosis, she sees all the bodies of the clones that died in that battle and feels responsible for their deaths. Anakin tells her that she needs to know how to fight like a soldier or she'll die. Anakin then flickers from being Anakin to appearing as Darth Vader. Meanwhile, Rebel Miyagi complains, again, as he is low on fuel. Although Hera tells Rebel Miyagi to keep searching for Ahsoka, she then secretly tells Huyang that Rebel Miyagi is right, as they don't have fuel or something. Hera then reveals to Huyang that she never got approval from the Senate to go on this unauthorized mission. And then she says, "Some general I am," which is probably the only bit of dialogue that I agree with until now. Chopper tells them that they should go lower towards the water to find Ahsoka. How does he know that? Yeah, don't think about it. Meanwhile, Ahsoka continues her visions and she and Anakin appear to be in a new battle. Anakin then tells Ahsoka that he doesn't recognize the battle that they're in, and she tells him that it was the Siege of Mandalore, which was after his time. Anakin tells Ahsoka that all the knowledge he possesses is within her, and she's a part of the legacy. It sounds awfully similar to the dumb crap Luke Skywalker tells Rey in Rise of Skywalker, but I guess this is what Star Wars has become now. Dudes telling ladies that they're inside of them. Anyhow, Ahsoka tells Anakin that he's more powerful and dangerous than anybody had ever realized, implying that he eventually becomes Darth Vader. So Anakin then becomes the Revenge of the Sith Mustafar version of himself and battles Ahsoka as they reappear in the world between worlds setting. And just as it seems like Anakin is about to defeat Ahsoka, she manages to outmaneuver him and take his lightsaber because she's the best. Visually, this part looks very fishy as it's unclear how she exactly takes his lightsaber away from him, but whatever. Then instead of striking Anakin down, she tells him, "I choose to live," and throws his lightsaber away. He then looks like nice guy Anakin again, and he tells her that there's still hope for her yet. At this point, Ahsoka leaves the world between worlds setting, and now she's drowning in deep waters, but Hera and her people rescue her. Ahsoka then wakes up in her spaceship where she is welcomed by Huyang. Huyang tells her that Jason was able to help find her, but Sabine is still missing. He then gives her the map that Sith Guy destroyed last episode. Now Ahsoka seems to have a new, whiter look. If I had to guess, it seems like they took Ahsoka's "I choose to live" moment and tried to make it sort of a Lord of the Rings Gandalf the White situation. There are some problems with this though, such as Dave Filoni is no Peter Jackson. This Ahsoka series ain't no Lord of the Rings. "I Choose to Live" is nowhere near as cool as "You Shall Not Pass." And let's face it, as much as I like Rosario Dawson, acting-wise, she ain't no Sir Ian McKellen either. But I digress. Ahsoka uses her Force capabilities to sense what had happened to Sabine. Rebel Miyagi tells Hera that the fleet are on their way, and they're likely coming to put a stop to their mission, which again is odd. Mon Mothma then tells Hera in a Zoom call that they have to return with the fleet because they have no evidence of Boss Lady Morgan or Thrawn even being there. This part really pissed me off because this character used to be considered a badass rebel looking to battle these exact type of threats. Since when did Mon Mothma become such a whiny, tattletale bureaucrat? Anyhow, Mon Mothma tells Hera that there will be a hearing to determine if she should continue to be a general, and Ahsoka will have to testify on Hera's behalf. But Ahsoka then has an idea. They will look for the space whales first introduced in Rebels and see if they can give them the coordinates to Sabine. And although this sounds like the dumbest idea ever, of course it seems to work like a charm. While Ahsoka is bonding with the space whales, Rebel Miyagi tells Hera that the fleet has arrived, but she says that they may scare off the whales, so he has to stall them for a while. But as Fleet Captain Boss Lady loses her patience with Rebel Miyagi, she decides she's moving forward no matter what. But then the fleet runs into the space whales and they realize that Hera, Ahsoka, and the whales really do mean business. Ahsoka communicates with the space whales using the Force. Ahsoka, of course, then has to fold her arms. Again. Hera then warns Fleet Captain Boss Lady that the space whales are coming, so she tries to evade them. Ahsoka then tells Hera that she's sorry she can't join her on this trip with the space whales, but Hera tells her that his son is too young to travel between galaxies. Finally, there's something that he's considered too young to do, as going on an extremely dangerous mission wasn't a big deal for some reason. But hyperspace with fish? Well, that's where Hera draws the line apparently. At this point, the space whales take Ahsoka with them into hyperspace, presumably where Sabine is, and then the episode ends. Now I know there are plenty of Filoni stans out there that absolutely love everything he does, and they probably do love this episode, and if that's how you feel about it, that's perfectly fine with me. Unfortunately though, while I liked some of his work on Rebels and the Clone Wars, I am not thrilled with episode 5 of Ahsoka, so let's talk about what I didn't like. Number 1, the pacing. Once again, this show is very slow. While this episode was considerably longer in runtime than the previous ones we've seen until now, it suffers from the same issue. It wastes too much time getting to the point. If it was about twice the speed and half the runtime, perhaps it would have been at least a little bit more breezy to watch, but everybody really takes their time here, and that slow burn type of storytelling style really doesn't work here because the screenplay and dialogue are mostly weak and the actors seem lost, and not quite knowing what it is that they're supposed to be doing in every scene. As a result, this episode at times becomes a chore to watch. Number 2, the writing. There are so many issues that I have with the writing here. Let's start with the worst part, which is Hera's character. She was initially asked to join Ahsoka and Sabine in episode 3, and had she done so, she probably would have helped them avoid the situation they're in now. Instead, she said that the Senate wouldn't allow her to leave, which makes very little sense considering that she's supposed to be a general. Even dumber is the fact that Hera waits 24 hours and only then decides to go help her friends, defying the Senate anyway, anyways at a point that it was probably too late to help them. And now that she's there, the Senate keeps bothering her every 5 minutes, which is also odd. Let me make this clear. Hera is supposed to be a decorated general, much like when she went to investigate something on Corellia in episode 2, using her own discretion. You'd think that she could have used her ghost ship to follow Ahsoka and Sabine from the get-go. I mean, there was just recently a Sith-like attack on a ship that killed a lot of people, and now she believes she can apprehend the people that carried it out. Would she really need to go through this amount of excessive bureaucracy for something like this? I don't recall ever seeing anything like this on Star Wars, and the fact that she keeps reminding people that she has a high rank is also odd. If you are a high-ranking officer, the people around you are aware of it, and they also don't question your decisions every 2 seconds. And bringing her son on a dangerous mission is also absurd, and not likely what Hera would do, but the screenplay needed it to happen so that Jason could help locate Ahsoka by using the Force. Not that I even like this creative direction, but if they really wanted to do this, at least have the kid secretly hide in some compartment as a stowaway, and only reveal himself once Hera arrives at the planet. I mean, that's pretty dumb too, but at least it doesn't make Hera look like the worst mother in the galaxy, because at least it would mean that she didn't bring him there voluntarily. I also don't know why this episode has to remind us every 2 seconds that Hera's trip here was unauthorized. We get it. She was told not to go and she went anyways. You don't have to keep saying it over and over again. It doesn't make her seem more badass or more of a rebel. It's just a dumb plot idea that they keep recycling over and over again for no apparent reason. The episode itself credits Dave Filoni as both the writer and director, and what surprises me is that he himself has done better work than this on shows like Rebels and Clone Wars. Surely he can do better than this. When it comes to the segments with Anakin and Ahsoka, I didn't hate all of it, but a lot of it just seems like nothing more than fan service and member berries to me. Perhaps if all of the episodes of this series would have been perfect until now, Filoni could have gotten away with it, but they aren't, so he didn't. I mean, I like seeing Hayden Christensen again as Anakin, and I didn't mind the callbacks to Clone Wars, but for me it simply carries no real emotional weight, especially since this is mainly happening in Ahsoka's head anyways. Also, if they wanted Ahsoka to have a Gandalf the White storyline, it really should have been more thought out. Like everything else on this show, everything here feels random and out of left field, without proper build-up, and this is no different, so it doesn't really pack any kind of emotional weight. Number 3, choreography. I really wish this show would have put more thought and planning into its lightsaber duels, especially when it comes to Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka. Considering how fast Ahsoka has always been, Dawson's lightsaber scenes always seem way too slow for the character. Now, I'm aware that the actress is a woman in her mid-40s and maybe she simply can't be that fast, but with the excessive budget, technology, and resources this show has, surely they could have found a workaround for this. I'm not expecting Dawson to be as fast as the animated Ahsoka in real life, but there were still ways to present her this way. If I had to say anything good about the episode, it's actually seeing the younger version of Ahsoka in the part where she revisits the Clone Wars with Anakin. Maybe because at that point the younger Ahsoka character acted a bit more like the Ahsoka character we know, and not the drowsy sourpuss that she usually is on this show. Also, I like that after her discount Gandalf the White moment, Rosario Dawson seems to have more positive facial expressions now, as if Filoni told her that she doesn't need to look so miserable all the time moving forward. I really hope that this continues in future episodes, as it actually suits Rosario Dawson better. Story-wise, while there may have been an interesting idea here to try to connect between the animated series, the prequels, and the original trilogy, ultimately, the execution here isn't all that great, especially when you zoom out and look at the overall story. All in all, I would say that this episode has probably been the best of the series until now, but even so, I still didn't especially like it. If I had to give it a grade, it would be 58 out of 100, which means that while it's a mild improvement over previous episodes, it's still a fail. Again. What did you think about Ahsoka Episode 5? Did you love it? Feel free to let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to my channel and also clicking on that wonderful notification bell. Thanks for watching, my friends. Thank you, and good day.
I am such an awesome guy. I make so many videos. But I'm